doing it. It's happening.
Welcome to What If Nothing's Wrong With You? I'm Paula D. Atkinson.
And I'm Lisa Kays. And what if nothing's wrong with us?
What if?
What would happen? I would spend a lot less money, Paula, if nothing was wrong with me.
I would spend so much less money. So listeners, thanks for being here. And Nemeka is here. So if you were a listener of We Are Still Hungry, Nemeka is back being our producer. Lisa and I are therapists. We are psychotherapists. We're both licensed clinical social workers. Okay. I forgot for a second. And we wanted to create a podcast in which we explore the question, what if nothing's wrong with everyone?
And as a therapist, that's an interesting question to explore because people come to us. This is not great for the business model.
No,
people come to us so we can tell them what's wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have been thinking we are having a harder and harder time doing that. That's kind of where this came from. We've been kind of having conversations where I'm like, I'm having a hard time finding anything wrong with the individual people.
Yes, I am having more and more of a hard time diagnosing people. I'm having a hard time matching people's beliefs that there is something deeply wrong with them.
I keep trying to diagnose people with capitalism, and then I'm like, that's not in the DSM, so technically insurance will not accept this.
Right.
But it would be my working diagnosis for you.
I keep trying to diagnose people with internalized colonialism, internalized white supremacy, internalized toxic productivity, all of these things that, yes, Kaiser and Cigna will not recognize.
No, they will not reimburse those.
So that's what this podcast is about. We're going to explore therapy, psychotherapy, a little bit of the history of it. Like, how did we get here in terms of therapists are the only answer when someone is struggling with their internal experience of being alive, which I don't want to be the answer for anybody who is struggling with the internal experience of being a human in the year of our Lord 2024 in the United States of America. I can't cure that.
And we're going to talk a little bit about how you probably don't want a therapist.
Yes.
Who wants to be. That's one of the things we've learned is that you may not want a therapist because some believe that they are that the answer, and that may not be the greatest.
Right. It's sort of like anybody who really, really, really wants to be a police officer probably shouldn't be a police officer. Anybody who's telling you that they are the answer to all of your problems, you should run away from. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. We also are going to use this time to chit chat about pop culture stuff that's in the zeitgeist from a therapy perspective, from a diagnosable perspective, from the idea of what we're talking about, that maybe nothing's wrong with a lot of these people, but they have been brainwashed to believe there is something wrong with them. And then somebody makes a lot of money off of that person believing that there is something wrong with them.
Yes. And we can keep people in therapy by keep finding things wrong with people. And there's always something. I mean, there's always something, to be fair. Nobody achieves enlightenment. And we can just keep people there spinning, thinking they're going to reach enlightenment. And that's not to say therapy does not have a purpose and is not good, but we want to be careful of this like perfectionistic idea of it's there to like fix me. As if there's something profoundly broken that can be fixed. And I can't start my life or feel good until that thing is like fixed perfectionistically.
Right. Yeah. So that's what this is about. If nothing's wrong with you. Thanks for listening. The first thing we want to get into for our chit chat today is we're going to talk a little bit about, Lisa, do you want to talk about the Taylor Swift article in the New York Times?
Yes, because I had a very strong reaction to that article. And when we have very strong reactions, we talk to our husband for 2 hours. We have to examine that and be curious about what's going on with us. I feel like I want people to know that I didn't know who Taylor Swift was a year ago. I drove around with 1989 on my playlist, unable to listen to it for years, thinking like, I don't know who this girl, whatever. But now I have an 8-year-old son who's a full-on Swiftie. My 4-year-old came up to me months ago and just said, hi, it's me. I'm the problem, it's me. And I was like, what does that mean? What is he saying? Turns out my husband was driving with him in the car, playing every out. So this has become a Swiftie household by accident. And so the article said, so how would we summarize the article? The article was a writer deciding for Taylor Swift that she was gay or queer, but I think gay, really, that she likes women or is bisexual, deciding that for her.
Right.
And announcing it to the entire world on behalf of Taylor Swift, saying that we all need a hero to save country music and America. And so Taylor Swift needs to acknowledge who she really is, even though she said that is not who she really is.
Right.
And letting her know that that is who she is. And I got very distressed.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us how this, say more.
So I think that I got, because it felt to me, well, first of all, I was like, don't we not out people? Like, that's a rule, right? Like, we don't do that. Like, even if this person is right, we just don't, that's like Taylor Swift's business. We don't do that. We don't know.
Right.
But it secondarily bothered me because Taylor Swift was saying with her words, I want to be an ally. Like, I'm using my platform. And I thought, this feels kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
We would say, like, just because someone wants to be an ally, or therefore we now have to misunderstand you. And it seems like it would make it dangerous and hard for, it felt like the 80s again when I grew up, where we were all wanting to be allies. And it was like, oh, then you're gay. And in the 80s, that was terrifying. So I'm like, that didn't, I think as an 80s kid, that felt disturbing.
Yeah.
But I think more so, it was the idea that we're going to make Taylor Swift be who we want her to be.
Yeah.
Because this is a woman who has made billions of dollars on her own. And I feel like Taylor Swift knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I don't have to like everything Taylor Swift is doing, but she kind of is, she seems smart.
Sure.
And I feel like she knows what she's doing. And I feel like she could have 1,000 reasons to maybe be a lesbian or bisexual or whatever and not tell us. There's a million reasons if I was Taylor Swift, I might do that, whether she is or isn't. But I just thought, I don't like this speculating about this woman as if we own her.
Right. That's the part we were talking about, is like the idea that we know her better than she does, right? Which is what Lisa and I want to keep talking about in terms of therapy, because old school harmful therapy is that the therapist knows more about you than you do, which is creepy and culty and gross. But also, my whole thing was, number one, the binary of that people are either gay or not gay, which is not real. Binaries are always a lie, and they are white supremacy and colonialism. There's no such thing, right? So that was weird to me, that she needs to save us all by coming out, which is like, she is one person. Has she not done enough by giving you all these pop songs that people love? Has she, right? Like, she has to give you more. She has to get, and that part drove me insane, because a woman has to give you more. You're not satisfied with what this woman is giving you already. And then the other thing about, like, that I told you in a Marco Polo, which was like, of course she's queer. Show me an artist who's not queer. Of course she is, right? And again, that binary of either she's gay or she's not gay, that's insane.
And maybe she's making an artistic choice. I mean, artists try to show us something. They try, and maybe there's something she is trying to show us in the personification of a straight white woman who's made billions of dollars. Like, I don't know. Maybe she's trying to, and we can all say, I don't like what you're trying to show me, or I wish I would feel closer to you if, or we can all, but like this whole wanting to make her something that she is saying she is not feels very violating and yucky.
It is.
And it's just like, leave her alone. She seems fine. That's why also my toxic trait is I like to defend people that do not need defending. So I pick a billionaire white woman to, like,
she's okay,
defend. She doesn't need me to defend her. But it feels yucky. Let people be who they are.
And also, it makes me curious about the writer, that, like, what is it about you that you need this person to be? Like,
well, the writer is confused about a number of things, including country music. Because when her whole premise is country music doesn't accept queer people, ergo no one does. And I was like, are you familiar with the demographic? Like, those are okay. I feel like there was confusion there on many, but her justification for I'm allowed to out Taylor Swift and tell her who she is in order to for the greater good
Yeah.
felt highly problematic and violating to me.
Yeah.
It's using her.
Right. Right.
Like we don't get to use people.
Right.
Who knows what Taylor Swift's journey is around there? I mean, there could be, I don't know, it's probably hard to date if you're Taylor Swift. It's probably, she may need to simplify that. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that is, maybe we should go into our number one of,
Yeah,
well, no, we're still on the, we have other things to talk about on the pop,
right.
but we're going to come back to this.
Yes, we're going to
don't tell people who they are.
We're going to circle back to nobody knows more about you than you do. We're going to circle back to that. Yeah, great. Okay. So my thing that came up a couple times in my practice with clients is Rebel Wilson, who I talk about Rebel Wilson a lot. So some of you already know that I am a body liberation, fat liberation therapist working with people with eating disorders and body hatred. And so Rebel Wilson lost a lot of weight. She intentionally made her body much smaller than it was. And she was exceedingly proud of herself. She was so proud of herself that then she started a like sweatpants, sweatshirt line, and it only went up to XL. So this talk about identifying with the aggressor, right? Like, so she used to be a person in a very large body, lost a lot of weight, then was like, and now I have a clothing line and no person in a large body can wear the clothes.
I wish to be exclusionary of
Exactly.
people
Now
who were once like me a
Right.
year ago.
Exactly, right? As I have been known to say, of the fat phobes in the world, the ones who have cured their fatness through whatever sometimes are the harshest people. But now she has gained weight, which is the absolutely normal biological response to starvation. If she was starving herself, I have no idea if she was starving herself, but one can conclude when a body eats itself for survival, that's because that the person who is living in that body is not eating enough food. And so now her body has gotten larger and she has gone out in the world to tell us all about it, which, okay, that's fine. But the language that she uses around it makes me so sad. It was on Instagram. She says, I recently gained 30 pounds and she says, I have been working really hard. She is writing a memoir. Great. And she is working on a couple movies. And she says, it makes me feel really bad about myself. I know that it shouldn't, but it does. I'm really proud of the work I've been doing on new movies and my memoir. But it's been a lot and I've lost focus on, I will put in quotes, my healthy lifestyle. So this is very problematic because, I mean, it makes me sad because obviously she's in the cult and she's in the matrix and she doesn't know that actually your body is just having a completely normal biological response to weight loss. But it makes me sad that she feels bad about it. It makes me sad that she's doing the binary that so many of us were brainwashed to believe that like either you do things you enjoy or you have a healthy lifestyle, right? Also that you have to put all of your energy into making your body smaller and that's the only way to be in a healthy body. It's just
and that she can't draw like self-esteem from these massive accomplishments.
right.
Writing a memoir, I'm doing a movie, all those things are nothing. These uses of my brain, because it's like, yes, that's how it works, is that we can't do, because it takes a lot of energy to starve ourselves or to exercise all the time.
Right.
So we do have to make choices, especially as women who have more blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm choosing to use my brain to do things I enjoy and she can't draw like self-esteem from that. It's like, well,
Right.
none of that means anything if I
Right.
didn't eat my celery for lunch. I mean, that's so
My
sad.
body. And if my body wants to be a bigger size, right? Then there's something that there's something wrong with me that my body wants to be a size larger than I think it should be. I also know this about her because I know everything about famous people. She just got married. She just had a daughter. she's writing a memoir and she's working on movies, and that this is what you're
Your body gets bigger when you have a child. That's a thing.
Right. Well, she didn't give birth to the child, but still, she's probably home
She's,
taking care of an infant, so maybe she's not at the gym. Great.
yeah, or she's not sleeping. So
Yeah.
she
Right.
which tends to make us not able to, I mean,
Yes.
that's so sad that it's like the only way
Yeah.
we can manifest accomplishment or pride.
Right. And meanwhile, she's got married. She and her wife have had a baby. She's doing all these things. But the most important thing, Rebel, absolutely, is whether or not you are thin. That makes me sad for her.
That's so sad.
Does she
There's
want
so
to?
much to be happy about.
I know. I want her to talk. I want to talk to her. I want to take her away for the weekend to
We
Josh.
are taking celebrity clients. Taylor,
There you go. Yes, please. Honey, do you want to just eat food and talk about how your body was always fine and your body was never the problem? And what if there was nothing wrong with your body ever? And I'm sorry you were brainwashed to believe that there was. I know.
That's a bummer.
It is a bummer. She's so funny. You have to look her up. One of the fun things about this podcast will be that Lisa doesn't know any pop culture, and I know all of it.
I know it. I just often don't know how to associate. I don't know the names, but I will often know. But anyway, it's gonna be a thing.
I love it. Okay. And then the last thing we want to talk in the chit chat is about Io Edebiri's speech at the Emmys. So she's on The Bear. She's also in the movie Bottoms, which is so funny. Did you see Bottoms?
No, I don't know who this is. Obviously, I never know anything.
Okay, so Bottoms is a movie that came out, I think it came out over the summer. It is so funny. It's basically like every teen movie from the 80s, but flipped upside down because it's like she and her improv friend from NYU play lesbians, and they start a lesbian fight club so that they can date the girls that are in the fight club. It is amazing.
I have to watch this.
She's so funny. So anyway, she is the daughter of immigrants. Her mother is from Barbados. Her father is from Nigeria. And they immigrated here to the United States to give their children a better life. And she just won an Emmy for her role on The Bear, which is such a good show. And she went up and she said, I know that it's no immigrant parent's dream to immigrate to this country and then have your child say, I'm going to do improv. But that they supported her and they let her do that. And now she just won an Emmy for being in an incredible show. So I just loved that so much.
I love they supported her. And we're improvisers. I mean, even your friends don't want you to do improv. Like nobody wants to hear that someone they know is doing improv, much less parents. So I love that they were like, that's fine, we'll support it. I love when parents do that. I
know. Carlo loves to make fun of me for all my dumb improv dorkiness. I love improv dorks.
Yeah, they're the best. But like nobody wants your friend because then you have to go to their show. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants to go to an improv
I know that now. I didn't know that when I was doing it. I feel bad.
That's amazing.
Okay.
So we wanted to get into healing versus not so healing, potentially harmful things that you can look out for when you are choosing a therapist, or even because as I looked at your list, Lisa wrote this amazing list. And when I looked at it, I was thinking about how it would have been so nice, but also terrifying if I'd read this list, had I been with an ex-therapist for like 6, maybe 8 years. So even if you're not looking for a therapist, maybe there's just things you can be curious about in this list.
Well, and I think I'll preface it by saying you and I were both in somewhat harmful therapies. That's part of why.
Correct.
And I had people trying to tell me, and I was a therapist. I think it's very important to know we were trained, we were therapists, and we were in what I call cultipy. That's what I call my therapy. And people did try to tell me, therapists tried to tell me, friends tried to tell me. So that's also like with cults.
Yep.
This isn't like you have to fix this. Like I couldn't hear it for years or see it, figure it out. I wish someone had given me this kind of list. And that's part of why we wanted to talk about this. But like, even I often hear people say like, well, I think the therapist must know, like they must know. And it's like, there's malintended therapists out there and people that will be manipulative, and you can get sucked into it even as a therapist. So you're not stupid, you're not dumb.
No.
This is, therapists hold a lot of power, and that's why we wanted to just talk about this a little bit and help people evaluate. So the first thing is, we have found that more healing therapies, because when I came out of Cultipy, I did find a therapist that I think is much more healing and that I've learned a lot from, and that they don't know more about you than you do ever. There
Ever.
no ever. I was told often so I would be like subtly hinted at that that I had personality disorders and that I didn't know it. And it was this secret. And that was a great way, because that was like my terror because of how I grew up with people with personality. And I don't want to be that person. So I would then behave, and it was a very good. And there would also be this sort of, I know what you're up to. There's a
Yes.
lot of, I know what you're up to. And I'd be like, what am I up to? Like they wouldn't like something I did. I had two, I was in a group. I had multiple two there, and there was this like, I know what you're up to, and then the group would try to figure out what I was up to, and I'd be going, I really don't think I was up to anything. I was just doing a thing. And when people are telling you, anyone, a therapist, a group, is saying, I know you have some nefarious intent, or
Yeah.
that's not healing. The what I have found now is much more like, and I will say, my patients from 8 years ago would be like, really, this girl's talking about this? Because I was doing what I was being indoctrinated into doing. I still don't think I ever did it as badly.
Talking about the history of psychotherapy, like, I don't know if everyone knows that, like, psychotherapy comes from psychology, psychology comes from medicine. So it's all this in the way that the United States does medicine, which is that there is something wrong, it is diagnosable, and then we will fix that thing, right? That's
I will fix that thing.
I have the power, right? The doctor has the power to fix the thing that you didn't know was wrong, and they will diagnose it and then they will fix it. That's the filter with which we see psychology, we see personalities, we see suffering when it comes from your brain and not your body. So that's weird because because you are the one with your internal experience of living inside your brain and living inside, right, all day every day. It's that we use that for this. So this sense that we do with doctors, which is the doctor knows more than I do about my body, which is the case. Your doctor does know where your spleen is. I don't know where the fuck my spleen is. But like that we put that on psychotherapists, that somehow they when a client comes to me, that I know precisely what's wrong with their brain and I'm going to diagnose it and then I'm going to fix it. But like that, it's so complicated.
And
It's
of course we want that. Who
yeah,
wouldn't
oh, I
want
want
a
to do that.
surgical solution to psychological pain? That
Sure.
would be delightful. Like I
Right.
get why it's like,
Right.
please tell me you can find this and extract it. But
Right.
if someone is promising you that, they are selling you something that is not available. And
Right.
it's
Just
just
like
not real.
it's just
Because what's healing is putting you in touch with yourself.
exactly.
And when you're in a therapy where someone is telling you their version of yourself, there's nothing healing about that.
No.
And that's what I was gonna, is that I'm so different now like I'm constantly with clients now. I'm even switching. I was indoctrinated to do patients and I'm switching to clients. But to be like, does what I'm saying sound right to you?
Yes. Does that
If they say no, I'm like, okay. And usually we go somewhere more helpful, but I was indoctrinated and trained to be like, are you sure about that? Let me explain to you the 5 ways that I can tell you that this is true about you. That's
ew.
not that no, that's not good.
It's so patriarchal, right? That like there is some usually white straight man that like has all the answers, but like that white straight man doesn't know anything, and neither do I. You come to me and we're going to do this together. We're in, I always say to clients, you are driving the bus. I don't know what it's like to live inside your brain all day long. How the supposed to know? Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
And white straight man was often trying to get the woman to go back to work from her depression. So like there's a lot of mixed motives, but that
That's
is principle number one is nobody knows more about you. If you feel like something is true for you and your therapist is not hearing that, not respecting it, then no.
yes.
Just
Right. And if your therapist is like, no, I know what's wrong with you and you have this diagnosis and it doesn't resonate with you, like that's the thing too, is the way I do therapy is I want therapy to help my clients trust themselves more. So if I say it seems like you might have an anxiety disorder and they're like, no, I'm like, oh, okay, great. Sure. Tell me. What do you think? Yeah. Great.
yeah.
Number two, healing therapists respect your desire to stop seeing them. I have cultipy experiences trying to leave a therapist and I got shamed. And that fear-based, exceedingly culty thing of like something bad will happen if you leave and only I can be the one to take care. Like even saying it out loud is like, that is weird. That is
And
weird.
yet I believed it. I listened to, I don't even know if I believed it, but anyway, but like there's something compelling about somebody being like, you won't be okay. And it's like,
Ah,
God, do I not know? Maybe I won't be if I
right.
leave. And it's like that you don't know. And it's a whole mess.
It's so fear-based. It's all fear-based, and there is nothing healing about more fear in your life. So if a therapist is making you afraid to
Or
leave,
diagnosing you with someone. They used to say when somebody would leave group, the way, oh, that's diagnostic. They would go,
ew,
well, that's diagnostic. Well, what does that tell me? Who's working real hard? Not, it's like, well, I don't want to get diagnosed with whatever that is. That facial expression, that's bad. That's the secret diagnose. It's like, and so
ew.
you're thinking, well, I gotta leave. I gotta figure out. I spent like 5 years trying to figure out how to leave right. You know what I mean? Like, okay, how do you get out so that it's not diagnostic? Because that was very important to me.
Wow, that is so creepy.
Diagnostic was an implied term, usually for, I think you are a narcissist, I think you have narcissistic personality disorder. It was coded, or borderline personality. Like the diagnosis wasn't good. It wasn't like, it was one of the diagnoses that we all fear, right? How many clients do you have, Paula, that are like, I'm so scared I'm a narcissist, so I never ask for anything that I want because I think I'm a narcissist. And I mean, all the time people say
Especially
that
women.
to me.
I mean,
And I'm
yeah,
like, okay, it's not, but like everyone is terrified. So we can weaponize
yes,
diagnoses that everyone is terrified to get that very few people actually have.
very few.
But they can be weaponized against the right person.
Yes.
I was one of those people, and it's very, very harmful.
It's also like Lisa's ready for me. I go on to my Aquarius woo-woo-ness. I need to say for the record that like I don't even actually believe in any of that stuff because narcissism is just the volume turned up on what capitalism and individualism and colonialism teaches us to do, which is I am an island, I am all by myself, I am the only person that can take care of me, I have to fight for everything, nothing is handed to me, like all of this
I
capitalistic,
have to be perfect.
I
I
have
have
to
to
be
be, yeah.
perfect. I can't show anybody that I'm vulnerable ever. Like it's like narcissistic personality is just like colonial white supremacist capitalism with the volume all the way turned up. So whose fault is it? Is it the narcissist's fault or is it just that they were like cooked in this weird thing that we're cooked in?
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think I do want to add a caveat, and I don't know if you practice this way, you may not, but when people want to leave therapy with me, I may ask questions.
sure,
I might like say, like, there's many ways I will ask questions around it.
sure,
But when they stop, so it's not like, oh, okay, goodbye. I want to make that clear that if
sure.
you're like, oh, I'm thinking about leaving, and then your therapist says, well, let's look at this. Is this in any way like what you came to me for, or blah, blah, blah?
I like
That
that.
may be perfectly okay if genuinely you're like, oh, you know what? This is a replication of a pattern I have. I want to work through it.
Sure.
That's normal and fine. It's when the leaving gets pathologized, shamed, guilted,
Here.
diagnosed,
Yes.
judged. That is when it's highly problematic. Like if you leave, it means X
Yeah.
about you. I've had patients where clients, oh my God, I'm so indoctrinated, where the leaving was what they needed to do. It was the healing thing because they had been in relationships where they couldn't leave, and they needed a good leaving. And
Yes.
or patients who are like, I know I need to do this work. I can't do it right now. I got 2 kids and I'm tired and and they come back 5 years later. And it's like, okay, we'll do it now. Great. You're available for it. Okay.
Totally. Yes. Permission, 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 permission. I like the way you said that. And I've had clients say, I want to leave and I am concerned. And so I don't shame them or make them feel scared for their choice or anything. I am curious about their choice and I can let them know because I am a therapist who admits to being a human that, oh, I have concerns and that makes me scared,
Yeah.
and also you have infinite permission to do that because you can do whatever the hell you want.
Well, and
And
often I'll say, if I had concerns, do you want to know what they are?
yeah,
I'm so consent-based now, it's probably almost annoying. But I'm like, if I were concerned about this decision, would you want to know why? And if they say no, I don't tell them.
great.
Usually they don't. They usually say yes. But it's like, I'll even be like, are you interested? And then if
Yeah,
they say no, it's like, okay, why not? And whatever. It's usually a productive conversation.
yeah.
But this thing where it's like you must achieve perfectionistic, like, and again, I have patient clients that would be like, okay, Lisa, you did this to me a little bit. And I'll be like, yeah, I know, because I was indoctrinated. We can learn, we can grow. It's all
Yeah,
fine.
right.
But
Okay.
it's not great. So that's
Well,
number two.
and then it leads to number three. Number three is very similar. Go ahead, Lisa.
And this is sad how revolutionary this was for
I
me because
know.
I spent so much time. So this is healing therapists honor your boundaries and limits at the most micro level.
Yes.
But I was trained and indoctrinated in groups where if I said, you know what? Oh, actually, this is a great example. If I was like, I don't like you, I don't want to talk to you in this group, I would be told, what's wrong with you? You have to get along with everybody. You need to figure out how to work this through with this person. And it's like, no, I don't. So
Ew.
the person I work with now, who literally this was revolutionary, he'll be like, she's allowed to not talk to you. She doesn't have to like you. And I'm like, what? But
Nice.
how disturbing
Yes.
that was revolutionary, right?
Yes.
But therapists, if somebody is telling me I'm I'm too anxious right now, and I'll be like, oh, we should stop and regulate. And they're like, no, 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 you know what you're doing. And I'm like, no,
Right?
no, don't invite me to blast past your boundaries. That's
Yes.
not what we're doing here. But everybody thinks that's what therapy is. The healing is in the not doing that.
Well, and the healing is that you get probably very different from your family of origin. You get to say, no, thank you. And I, as a therapist, am like, great, you're driving this bus.
Good
Fantastic.
for you. Thank you for telling me.
I've had clients who are like, well, my partner lost their job and I can't really afford it, but I really need to keep going. Right. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking all your money. No, you don't. You don't owe me anything. You don't owe me anything. You
We're
certainly
like,
don't
maybe
owe me.
we'll do monthly. Do you want to do monthly? I've been like, do you want to do 30-minute sessions? Like once a month? Like if somebody really is like, it's going to be, I don't want to end, I'll figure it out with people. Like, and but like, there are a lot of that will not, they will, I was told to take out a loan to pay for my therapy, to take out a loan.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding. I
What?
earned no money, and I was told that this was the only thing that was going to save me. And at that point, it had helped enough.
Yeah.
I believed it, and I was told if you need to, you need to take out a loan.
Ew, that is so
I
culty.
didn't. Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
And
Well,
it's
and
hard to look at that and know that I wasn't like the. But it's like if somebody is also like
yeah.
figured out that one trauma piece, validated it, and you're like, oh my God, I finally have relief from this one thing.
Yeah.
then it's very hard. You're like, well, maybe I feel I do. This is better. Like, this is the first person. For some people, it's like, this is the first person that's ever been nice to me, ever validated me. Maybe they
Right.
do. But I was told to take out a loan. It is that wild out there. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm not
No,
the only.
you're not.
I've
Because
heard
I've
from
had
other
clients
people.
come and say, well, I know that you need me to come once a week. And I'm like, I do? I never said that. I
Yeah.
don't, I need you to come in ways that work for you.
Yeah. Like the
Yeah,
dosing, where does the once a week come from? That worked for the guy who set up therapy. That is a
right.
financial,
Yeah,
like, I have people that come monthly, bi-monthly, every other week. I don't know. I mean, like, whatever works, we can figure out the dosing together.
totally.
Like,
Totally. I
it's
remember
fine.
being in a therapy group when I first started, and this straight white male in the therapy group somebody had come to him and said, I just feel like I only need it like every other week. And this therapist, who at the time I really respect him, was like, oh, is that how we have to do it? He was like, oh, I don't do that kind of therapy. I only do weekly. And at the time I was like, oh God, do I have to do that? I don't want it. There are lots of clients who like, they definitely, we both know you don't need to be here every week because we don't have anything to talk about. Why are you making
No.
people come and pay you money?
And I want to, because I have so much compassion for the therapist. Like, I want to be clear, we are not judging, we are not in some therapy hit, because that piece of you that was like, oh, is that okay? Is that real therapy? Is that what I have to do? That's because we have these, older, therapy is a passed down verbal
Yeah,
tradition,
right,
basically.
right.
And you have these people with large practices that are
Yes,
the experts that are doing the trainings, and they're doing this hard, this culty, and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel great to me, but I get, is that okay? I guess I'm not a real therapist till I'm doing that. And that's how it
right,
happens to us. And like, I look back now and there are ways that I didn't give in to that and was like, that I'm never going to do. But there are a lot of ways that I was like, well, I guess that's what I have to get tougher, figure
right.
out how to do that. And I'd be told like, you're not entitled enough. You're not,
Yes,
and my supervision sometimes would just be like, raise your rates, raise your rates. That's
right.
what?
And so for those of you who don't know, supervision is when you are when you're becoming a therapist, you have to have a supervisor who's the same little letters behind their name as you. And then when you are a therapist, it is ethical for you to remain in supervision with somebody who's been doing therapy longer than you have. So we still are in supervision, but you got to be picky about your supervision too.
And we don't know that. How do we
Yeah,
know? You know what I mean? We just get
yeah,
thrown with people, and
yes,
you can get all kinds. So we can't even be mad in many ways,
right.
because like it all depends. Had I found this guy I have now first,
Yes,
everything would have gone very differently. Like, it
yes,
all depends on who you end up with,
yeah,
and it's random
yeah.
sometimes.
It is, yeah. Great. And so that leads to number 4, which is healing therapists acknowledge their own mistakes and their own limits. They take feedback, they take questions, they apologize when they mess up, when they harm you, which they probably will. And well, they inevitably will.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't grow up in a household where anybody apologized ever because I'm from weird white people who don't apologize to each other. I love apologizing to my clients. I love it when I mess up and my client was like, I don't like what you said. And I could be like, oh, great. Okay. I am very sorry. That is my fault. My bad. Let's explore that. It's
Mhm.
like becoming a therapist gave me permission to do and to be what I always wanted to do would be, or like in my body knew that like, oh, this is how to be a human. If you hurt someone, if you harm somebody, if you say the wrong thing, you just immediately apologize. You don't have to like feel like crap about yourself. You don't have to take it personally, right? And so if you are with a therapist who is incapable of saying, oh, that doesn't resonate with you. Okay, my bad. Let's talk more. That's probably not the most healing relationship that you can find.
If it's always about you,
Yes.
anytime
Yes.
you say like, I didn't love that, that's not working, which takes a lot. I spend years sometimes trying to get my clients to get mad at me. They laugh at me. They're like, she's trying to make us mad again. because I want them to say like, I didn't like that. That didn't work for me. And that for a lot of people is very hard to do.
Totally.
You're in this therapy, which weirdly cultivates that. But then the minute you do it, it's like, oh, you're going to come after me now. Well, let's look at what this means about you. That's what I mean. It's like crazy making central.
Gaslighting.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, well, what's this about? That it's never, I was in a 10, I don't know how, 12 to 15 year, never was apologized to. Not once, ever. And my training was, you never apologize. It is never you, which I also never ascribed to. I was like, that feels, because that's bad parenting.
Yeah.
Not, that's not what I do with my children. I apologize. I mean, they got lists of grievances. I don't even know. Like that. But that's not, how am I teaching somebody to have a good relationship if they raise something with me and I'm like, well, let's talk about what that's about for you. It's like
With also,
sometimes it's
how do
me.
you, and how do you, if I have a client who's coming to me who's struggling to show up vulnerably in their relationships, which is what a lot of people go to therapy for, and then I refuse to be vulnerable, I refuse to be a person, I refuse to be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, then how am I modeling for my client, this is how you are a person in a relationship?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I can't be telling them you have to negotiate and try to like, and then not be willing to do it. Like,
Yes.
so I get so excited when my clients are mad at me. I had a whole group mad at me this morning. I'm like so excited. My supervisees are always like, how do you tolerate this? And I'm like, I love it. They're growing. It's great.
It's right. Look, be mad at mommy. Yes, it's fine.
Yeah.
She
And
can
I
handle it.
don't have to get defensive. It's not, it's like, oh, that wasn't what you liked. The next person is fine with that. Like, I'm learning about you. I'm
Yeah.
learning about what works for you.
Yeah.
You're learning I'm not perfect, which is great for you and your growth. That like, I'm not this perfect object on high. And like, that's good for everyone. I don't want to be perfect. I don't
How,
want to like meet everyone's needs. That's exhausting. It's
yeah.
exhausting.
Yes.
I
Great.
love being a horrible therapist.
Yeah. Right. Great. And I like number 5 too. Yeah. But
Yeah, so healing therapists connect you with other healing things, like maybe medication, some ketamine these
sure.
days, yoga, a support group, or
Yes.
even sometimes a different type of therapy. We acknowledge I am not everything. Maybe we send them to improv. I send people to improv,
I
art
do.
class, I don't know, all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
But if your therapist isn't connected to other things, or if things aren't getting better and there's not some movement of like, you know what, I'm going to consult with this person, or what if we tried this, or do you want to look at medication, or like, that is a red flag to me. A
I,
therapist is like, I am the be all and we're going to fix you in this room alone. It's like,
yeah. Gross.
mm-mm.
I think I have a better perspective of this because I grew up in hippie California with a hippie mom. And my mom, I've told this story a lot, but my mom had a very traumatic childhood and went to therapy. And then I remember when she turned like 50, she became a yoga teacher. And she told me, and this is right when I started my therapy journey, and I thought I knew everything. So I was like, Mom, you should get a therapy, of course. And my mom said in her infinite wisdom, I can't talk about it anymore. It's in my body. It's in my body. I need to work with my body. I need to work with energy. I can't tell the story anymore. Words are not going to heal me anymore. And in the moment, I was just mad and a 20-year-old, right? But like that, I think about that all the time. If your therapist is trying to sell you the idea that talk therapy is the end all be all of all healing modalities, run.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not saying it's not, but so often it is not. It's not the thing that everybody needs. Of course it's not.
Or especially if they're blaming you,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not working. So if I have a client and we're like, okay, it's been like 3 to 6 months, the symptoms aren't getting any better, like, there are a lot of people out there that will blame, oh, well, they're not working hard enough. They're not, doing, and it's like,
Resist.
I we'll sit down and be like, okay, maybe we need to add something. Maybe you need something more somatic and body based. Like maybe, and I sometimes have people go do EMDR while they're still with me, if that's what they want, because I think they need some more like nervous system,
Right.
or like maybe you need more friends and you need to just see me bi-weekly and we'll like all, but it's like we discuss it and it's not this like, well, you're just not working in here. I guess you don't want to get better. I guess you don't.
Ew, that is crazy.
But it happens.
Yeah. I mean, and
And
then yeah, the thing about friends is so important. I know that you and I have been talking about like, do my clients need me or do they all just need more friends? Because sometimes I'm like, I think you just need better friends. And my favorite thing that I saw on a bumper sticker and I say all the time is before you diagnose yourself with anything, make sure you're not surrounded by assholes. Because I have so many clients who come to me and they are like, I think I'm depressed and I have an anxiety disorder and all these things. And then they tell me about their friends or their boyfriends or whatever. And I'm like, I think all your friends suck. I think there's nothing wrong with you. So yeah, a lot of times it is just like, can you go join a group of nice people,
yeah.
probably at improv?
Yeah. And sometimes, a good therapist is just modeling like there are nice people. Like that's kind of the job. But like, I'm not doing that so you stay with me forever. I'm
Right.
doing that to show you there are good relationships and to help you identify them and then to send, like, I am constantly trying to connect people to something else other
Yeah.
than me. Not
Yeah.
because I don't love them or I want them to go away,
Right.
but because we can't be healthy full of people in just a dyad. That's
No.
not enough.
Well, which brings us back to what we said at the very beginning is that like most of us are just suffering from internalized capitalism, which keeps us all isolated and focused on ourselves and working all the time and not able to just howl at the moon and dance naked with our friends, which is what we should probably all be doing. And then all the therapists would go out of business.
Yeah. Or maybe go to improv class.
Or improv or whatever, or ketamine, or just do mushrooms in the snow.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a good therapist is just removing the barriers to whatever's going to keep you from getting those things. That I feel like it is not to keep you with me. It is just to remove whatever barriers are keeping you from that fullness.
Yes.
The big world.
I love that. Yeah. Great.
What if there's nothing wrong with anybody?
What if there's nothing? What if nothing's
I
wrong?
hope this podcast works because we're not going to be making any money.
Because nobody's going to come to us. Great.
So thank you for listening. Just like with therapy and life, we don't totally know what we're doing all the time. We're just experimenting. We're like, maybe this has only happened to us. We don't know. We were sending some Marco Polos back and we're like, maybe this is helpful to people. So we would love if you listen to hear from you. I am on Instagram at the Lisa Kays, LISAKAYS. And Paula, you are at
Paula D. Atkinson on all the socials.
And you can tell us anything you thought. You can tell us if there is something wrong with us or if there's not something wrong with us, or if you had a weird therapy experience and you want us to offer some commentary about it, we can do that. You can just let us know if this resonated. So you can comment on, where do they comment? On the Apple?
Well, we're going to have a YouTube, so you can comment on the comments on the YouTube. You can also just DM us on the Instagrams and let us know. Do you have a nightmare therapy story? Do you have a therapist who, when you tried to quit therapy, they shamed you and blamed you? Let us know. We want to hear.
Or is there something you want to hear two therapists talk about, either related to pop culture and or actual therapy? We will just talk about it. We'll talk about anything.
It's true. Yeah. You can ask us all of your questions and we can't wait to convince you that what if nothing's wrong with you?
Awesome.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.